as a byproduct of that stuff, I've become a lot less judgmental, because you do become less judgmental as they become your behaviours.
We can make decisions. Rather than judge, we can make better informed decisions if we just slow down, look at what might be the lesson for it, and then move on and try and grow from that experience. Hey, see, I know more than you. Oh my God, did you not know?
You're schooling me on comedy now. Yes.
I'm making progress. Come on, you're crushing it, Joe. So what? It's a movement right now. It's a movement. This is it.
Want all of you out there to be sending your kids to school in Inspiration Nation hoodies too. Recording.
Yeah, I can see you recording. So yeah, so don't forget, pop it in the old what's name when you're finished.
The what's the name, of course, the valuable what's its name.
The what's name. Okay, all right, mate. All right, so let's go with it. Whenever you're ready, do your biz.
Cool. Right, and 3, 2, 1. I need to wait for you to clear that before that's on the screen, unless you want the countdown in there. Inspiration Nation, hello, it's Lee Kemp here once again for another week on the podcast. Just me and Joe this week. How are you there, Joe?
Yeah, really good, really great, some good energy.
And we're going to tell everyone why it's just you and me, Joe?
Just you and me, because it has been a busy old time. And
mostly, Joe, it's because we went boozing on Saturday night and we weren't in any fit state to do some podcasts on Sunday, I think is the truth.
Well, I would have done it.
Okay, I wasn't in a fit state to do any podcast on Sunday because Joe, I was bad, and I kept Joe out for an extra hour than he planned to be out. And he went home at the ungodly hour of 11 instead of 10.
Well, I left at 11, got home by about 12. That's past my bedtime.
I was tucked up in my bed at the safe hour of 3:30 in the morning.
See, this is why you're young and virile, and that's why you do these things. See, I'm now in this zone where I need my sleep, and I need to make sure that I've got the energy levels to do this. So I have to do it.
Impromptu midweek instead of our usual Sunday over Zoom. You know.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm very proud of you, Lee, to keep your energy levels up and just begin to do this midweek, because I know this can be a challenge.
It's good though. Once we get in the zone, it's always good.
Yeah, I love it, and I like the way we're very flexible with it as well. Yes, let's do this. Yes. And I love it because we've had to flex a little bit, didn't we? And it was really weird today because I had a cancellation tonight actually to do this tonight, because I wasn't going to do it till later. Well, we weren't going to do it till later.
No,
so we just
I had a bit of a crazy plan to try and do something at the weekend, but I got home. There's a message from Joe. Do you want to do the podcast? I'm like, yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. And I tell you, I'm really proud because that was a short notice. That was short notice, absolute short notice. So you're right. So you're keeping that good. You say you're keeping good. Are you?
I am good as well, Joe. Oh, look at this. I never get asked. It's always me doing the asking. I feel really special.
Well, I thought, you got to ask you, And I was still really impressed. I'm really impressed with your shower video that we did.
Yeah, I might give that a little retweet actually once this goes out. See if we can get a few more views on that. Encourage Mr. Boniface into doing his dad dancing, which
dancing.
Be pushing when we are next recording all together.
Yeah, so shout out. Go on.
Shout out to the missing man, Ryan. He's always the third man. We send social media, lots of good movement on there, lots of interaction, a few new people popping up, which is good. Remind everyone we are at Listen TOIN across all platforms. Joe is at JN Coaching Tech. We love to hear what people think. Leave us comments, leave us feedback. We try and respond to as much as we can on there.
Absolutely, and I love that segue. You're getting so smooth with them.
I am. I'm gearing up for my career in voiceover.
I tell you what, no, you're going to be more than voiceover, man. More than voiceover.
Soon to a cinema near you.
Yes.
Right, enough of that nonsense. What we're talking about today, Joe?
I love the way you do it. Wait, right, you always do that. You always do it. Right, we're going to talk about this week. Okay, what we're going to talk about is, let's talk about judgment. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a bit more depth about judgment and why we do it, really, and the reason why it exists, I think. So I think the thing is, for me, is the question is, why do we fear judgment? And one of the things that I wrote down is because we don't want to be one of we want to be one of the crowd, right? So we judge, and we want to find like-minded people. We don't like the look of something or the feel of something. We'll judge it. That we feel it makes us feel better because we sort of, so it makes us feel better about ourselves because we can judge something else. And I think it's also about inclusion, and when we judge things, we can find other people that are also judgmental, and that sort of pulls people together in certain groups. So that's why I think judgment exists. The only problem is with judgment is that it affects people in a really negative way. And it can preclude you from learning new things. And it's something that we have to keep a tab on when we're become self-aware. And I think as we've done these podcasts, it's much more around how we develop self-awareness as well as self-development. So self-awareness is self-development. And I think part of this for me is making sure that we keep a tab on something, because we judge really automatically. Anytime we do, even not unconsciously, we're judging all the time. And it's when we catch it that we can then process it and go, actually, why is it that I'm judging about this thing? Is there immediate danger? Is there not? But really, that's the judgment we want. Is the reactive one is where there's proper danger, physical danger, which puts our lives at risk. But the other types of judgment where we waste so much energy, so much time in making judgments to maybe try make ourselves feel better about something, that it's something that I think we can tailor and use to our advantage, and say, why do I need to waste my energy doing that when I can be getting on with my own thing rather than judging this thing? So a lot of time when I see people watching TV or something like that, you probably said that I didn't mention this one, but that Gogglebox, if you watch that and they judge, oh, that person's done this, and there's like so much judgment going on in that situation. But again, people love that. You think it's got a big viewership and stuff like that because people just love the whole thing about judging, and they love the controversy and things like that. And for me, I'm trying to get away on a personal note, away from judgment so much, and just trying to, I suppose, use it in a way that's going to serve me rather than something that I just use to make me go in a certain direction or think I can just discard something because I've judged it. Because I use a lot of times when we judge things, I think if we discard it, there can be some lessons that we lose in that situation, where we think, oh, it's really bad, oh, that was terrible, but what is it behind that we can learn and look a bit deeper into it rather than just discarding it. So those are the sorts of things that for me are important, and I think it's supposed to be slowing down with those things, like trying to think, okay, like back in the day when when I would go to maybe there was a training session, someone put me on a training, and I'm not going to that training session because remember, I don't know if that story back in one of the podcasts where I wouldn't want to go, but I was judging that straight away without actually going to try the thing. And so things like that would, but I had to go on it. I was made to go on it, but luckily I did go on it, because otherwise I may not be on this journey. So, and I think if we can get more of that into our lives, then I think we can be better and we can improve quicker, and we can make decisions rather than judge. We can make better informed decisions if we just slow down, look at what might be the lesson for it, and then move on and try and grow from that experience.
What are your thoughts on being judged on the other side
being
of it?
Judged?
Yeah. So you're the one feeling judgment. Yeah.
Now this is something that I found quite difficult. I'm learning to deal with it. It's still quite difficult. I mean, especially in the social media space. When I first started Twitter, there was this, before all this, probably about maybe like 5-6 years ago, maybe. I don't know how long I've been on Twitter now, but it was quite early days. It's when I was building up my Twitter account, and there was one guy who said, oh, it's always the same. When anyone talks about depression, all these coaches come in and do that. And this is one of these coaches, Jay in Coaching Tech. And I kicked off and I went on my little Twitter rant and I went, you don't know me, da, da, da. And that was the thing, that I felt there was judgment upon me.
Yeah.
And my reaction was to fight back. But actually what I needed to do in that situation is just let it go. They're not the sorts of people that I want to be connecting with. And it's fine, because at that point, those are not the sorts of people that are going to like the content we do. And it's acceptance of that people will only be ready to accept the messages once they're ready and not before. So if someone's, hating on your content or anything like that, it's more about them doing it and how much they must really hate their lives for doing it. And they must be in that really negative space. And I really like the lessons that when all the research I've done and all the sort of like videos I've watched, it's about having compassion for those people, because how must your life be like if all you're going to do is like hate on people's positivity? And I've learned a lot of that from Gary Vee, actually, where he just talks about just ignore them, just move on. You've got no interest in that. You just, ignore the haters.
So
But
like
it's
you said,
hard.
it's back to the energy thing, though, isn't it? It's you're expelling energy, being annoyed with those people, or fighting those people, or telling other people about those people. Whereas, and it's a lot easier to say than do, but if you just ignore it, you can put that energy into something else.
Yeah, and it's letting it go. That's the hard part,
Yeah.
isn't it? But yeah, and you can put that energy. It's almost wasted energy, because all you do is you're giving them energy where they don't need, and also you're giving them attention, which they probably, like, some people want that, and that's why they do it. So it's just making sure you don't give it energy, like you say, and don't grow it, because you do that. And I've done that. I've entered into a few conversations, and there's a one thing that I do want to sort of like say, what is it? Like, the other thing is, like, if I engage that judgment, I'd like to try and know the story behind why they're judging that. And so, is there something more deep seated? Is there anything that can help with that? But then, like you say, it's just being open and just having actually no feeling. But one of my things is one of my things is that I am pretty sensitive, and that's the thing. And I am sensitive. I'm still sensitive, but I've got to channel that. And it's not that I don't feel it. I do feel it, but I've got to channel that in the right way. And so when judgment's upon me, that's hard. I still find it hard, but I've got to channel it in the right way so I can make it useful for me and that I can keep growing. But I've got to be compassionate. I feel I've got to be compassionate with people, because if I'm going around just judging and maybe I'm hating on stuff, then what's my life like? I've spent those minutes of my life, which we talked about before, about wasting your life on those minutes, about just putting these posts on, which aren't going to serve anybody, but fuel my negativity and just continue a downward spiral. But I've been quite lucky, because I've not been really a negative person. Had challenges, but I've not ever been negative. I've had moments where I think, it's never going to work, and things like where you feel down on yourself and things like that, but not negative as a 90% of your life is negative.
Yeah.
Not 100%. To be realistic, 100% life isn't negative. It's probably 80, 10, 20, with some negativity on fine, difficult. There's 80%, which I'm most of the time on it. And I think you picked up on that even tonight. It's just been crazy, full of energy. And even you said you took it to another level. I've had a fantastic day today. But I think that's because the attitude and even fueling that positivity and feeding it. And when negativity comes along, or when judgment comes along, you become stronger. So it's easier to face. And so now people can't infect me with their negativity. And I want to get more. I'm not saying it never will, but the more I build that up, the less it is. And so I've got more strength against it.
I think I feel it on the receiving the judgment side. And even a few weeks ago, I talked about the story about the guy in the petrol station where I took his euros off of him and paid for his petrol because he didn't have the money and didn't speak the language and whatever else. Hold on, I'm going to grip out a shot right now. I'm going to come back into shot right now. If you're just listening on audio, I walked out of the shop. You weren't missing anything, but I still have the euros here because I've not actually gone and changed them up yet. So it's a real thing.
That's fantastic. You should frame them.
I was thinking of doing that, just maybe keeping one of the 10s just for...
Frame it. I think, because that'd be forming part of your environment.
Yeah.
And you can have a reminder.
However, mostly they're there just because I've not been bothered to go and get them changed up yet, more than anything
now you have opportunity. Now you have an opportunity to keep it as a part of your environment.
But I talked about, when I told that story, I talked about my regret from the time before at the shop when the person was struggling to pay. And that judgment thing you talked about, and that fitting in and wondering what everyone else would think, was just boring into my head at that time. And I think I'd really feeling that fear of judgment. But I think since, especially the last 8 months or so since we've been doing this, I feel that less and less and less. I still struggle with it. I think it's human nature to do it, but I feel less of that need to fit in and worry about the judgment if I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. And I also think one of the biggest things I've taken since we've been doing this is becoming less judgmental as a person. And it's not been a mission to become less judgmental. But as we've gone through this, there'll be people listening now who's been with us from the start. If you've not, encourage you to go back, listen to previous episodes, see the journey we've been on with this and the advice and stuff. But a lot of stuff we've been talking about has been comfortable with what we're doing, focusing on ourselves, supporting other people rather than being negative, understanding where people are coming from, seeing their point of view. And, we've talked about all the benefits we've had by doing that sort of stuff, using that it's a stress mechanism to help cope with things when you're not so worried about everyone else is thinking. And I think almost as a byproduct of that stuff, I've become a lot less judgmental, because you do become less judgmental as they become your behaviours. And I think that in turn helps me worry less about other people's judgment, because I can choose to not judge other people as much as they can choose to judge me. And I think that helps me cope with that sort of thing. And like you're saying with things, I think I'm a lot happier person because of that, because I'm not wrapped up in all this thought about what other people are doing.
And how stressful is that, though, to be thinking
and
about
it's only,
to let it go?
Like you said, people are only ready to hear the lesson when they're ready to hear the lesson.
Yeah.
And, if 18 months ago you'd have just said to me, be less judgmental, wouldn't have done a thing. It's been this slow journey of little changes and little changes in behaviours. And as I realise more and more the benefits to myself, it kind of starts to snowball itself. And I think being less judgmental, ironically, helps me feel less judged. And as an update, I've been doing a bit of sitting in the uncomfortable space, like you said to me. So we said probably 4 or 5 weeks ago now, but about me getting my hair cut. Those that are watching can see it's in good shape right now, so I'm in no danger of needing to go. But I went, and I was feeling that feeling coming over me that I needed to make conversation, and I didn't. And I told in fact, I think I texted you when I was there, didn't I? I said, I'm going to sit in the uncomfortable space. And I did it, and I stayed there, and it was absolutely fine. The guy was quiet as well. Gave him a tip at the end. He was grateful, shook my hand. Everything was happy. And I walked out of there without all that built up stress of feeling like I need to make conversation with someone, which is good.
That was a really big thing for you, wasn't it? Because you were talking in early episodes where you did, you struggle with the whole a lot of people thing, didn't you? And even the thought of going up there was like quite stressful. And now you've been able to let that go. And like you say, you have to, it's almost like an evolution, but it's a slow, progressive evolution, isn't it? But it's about the self-awareness. You're getting to know yourself more, and we're all getting to know ourselves better. And being honest with ourselves, I think, is one of those keys, isn't it?
Well, on that view of being honest, I'll be hyper honest. And this goes back to Saturday. So me and Joe, as we've said on this podcast, used to work together quite some time ago now, back in time.
Back in the day.
In the early 2000s, mid 2000s, something like that. And it's a group of us, sometimes a lot, sometimes a few, but we go out semi-regularly and catch up and stuff, which I really like, because, we've not worked together, all of us, for a long time, and still catch up every so often. And it's, as soon as we meet up, it's like nothing's ever changed, really. And it's really good. But I was sitting there and I was out, and this isn't just to this is when I'm out normally. And there were 5 of us, and I sat in the middle, and there's 2 people talking here. Joe, you were just here to my right. There were 2 people talking here. And I think back in time, I'd have been like, oh, I've got to get myself involved in one of these conversations. I'm just sitting here by myself. Everyone's going to think Lee's sitting here by himself. And, your mind just goes crazy. And I didn't. And I told myself, just sit and be comfortable. And I just had my drink. And then someone pulled me into a conversation talking about stuff, and it was all natural. And I just really challenging myself on all that social anxiety stuff, which again, I think Reece is making me think of it, talking about the judgment.
Yeah.
That's what it's all coming from. It's that fear of being judged.
Yeah. And even just to sit and just not have to force a conversation is fantastic.
And it was really good, actually.
Because sometimes if you have to say them, you don't have to say anything. And I think there's lots that you think, or someone says something, you think, oh, they need to say it, but you don't, because a lot of people just want to talk, and it's fine. Let them talk. And you don't need to have, to empty your mind is a really good practice. Because you've got a lot of chatter going on, then it takes a lot of energy, and it's usually judgment. Oh, what they're saying, they said they've done this, and your mind will automatically jump to a judgment. And if you can, like you say, as you practice, if you can just sit in the moment, which you talk about, it's just liberating.
And like you said, just when we talked previous podcasts, just listening without that judgment, which we talk about in the listening episode, and just switch off and just hear what they're saying without without forming any opinions about it.
Yeah. And no thoughts trying it. I still find that quite difficult sometimes, because you can't help the thoughts come in when they say something, an idea comes, and I try and let them go. So when I'm coaching, I just try and you've got to let those thoughts go, because they're saying things. Because if you're thinking about that, you're not listening to them. And as I say, and you're forming judgments, because you're then thinking thoughts, and the thoughts then turn to, and there's a judgment coming. And that's really when you stop listening. Because once you start wanting to respond, that's when you stop totally listening.
Yeah, you're absolutely
right. And it's an art. And I said before, I don't know if I said it in the last episode, but there's so many, it's ultimate, there's no level to listening which you can get to. I think there's always deeper levels. And I think people go, oh, active listening and that. I think it goes beyond that. There's so much to yeah, what's the body language? And yeah, there's always physical stuff, but it's actually, I think, about being in the moment and having a sense of it, which is very individual to you and be very individual to me. And I don't know how you would listen, but you know how you would listen. You know what I mean? You can have these basic sort of terms, but afterwards it's about you and how you self-develop and how you sit without the judgment, empty the mind and really, really listen. But there's infinite levels of listening.
And there's an interesting point there. You said as well that I know how I listen, and I do, but I do partly because of this stuff. And I wonder, you know, everyone listening, if everyone's really honest with themselves, and if we're really honest with ourselves, is do we know, or is a lot of our time responding rather than listening? And it is, like you said, it's about really focusing on just listening to the person, knowing that sometimes they just want to say what they're saying. They don't need that response. Sometimes they do. You've got to do, you know, sometimes people are looking for support, but again, that's where you hone your listening to understand, you know, what's that person looking for? Do they just need to sound off? Because I've had this situation where, you know, and I know I do it as well sometimes. If I'm just wanting to sound off and I know I'm being unconstructive and I know I'm whinging, the worst thing is when someone says, oh yeah, but if you do this, or actually I think you're wrong because your reaction's just, I just want to vent. And sometimes you're looking for that support. And I've seen it the other way around with people, where if I read it right and they're just wanting to vent, you let them, and then they get themselves through it. Or sometimes they're reaching out for support. And again, like you, throw my pen around, I'm getting so excited.
Get excited, yeah.
Now, I'm not a master with this stuff. This is stuff I'm learning and doing and making mistakes with, but just becoming more conscious of that sort of listening. You know, what emotional support are people looking for, rather than just what are the words that they're saying and how can I give some input to that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because you're sitting there listening to them, and that's when you're developing your emotional intelligence, because you're prepared to sit and just wait. And also what you do is when you're listening to them, you're waiting. And if they then ask you, you then don't have to respond to them. You can just say, you just sit and then when you heard everything, they say, what do you think? You can pause and wait for your thoughts to form then, because your brain would have taken the inputs and then you'll formulate something to come out with. Let me just think about that for a moment. And it's okay to pause. It doesn't have to be immediate. And to what you might
said right at the start, it's just slowing down that judgment process, isn't it?
Slow it all down. I would say slowing a lot of it down when we're having those conversations. And even now, even though we're doing coaching now, even in this conversation, and when I do coaching, even now, there's still times when it's still times I get those thoughts and I've got to tune out. Because you might get distracted and looking beyond them and think, no, hang on, I've got to look back, because your brain wants to go out, and that's that self-awareness of bringing yourself back in the moment. And that's one of the hardest things to do. And again, that's when judgment comes in, because you've got to catch it at the moment. You've got to catch the judgment. And you could be having a coaching session with somebody, and you could be forming all these judgments. And that's what you've got to cancel out, because you just don't know what's going on until you hear everything. If you're judging, you can't hear what they say. And what you might have missed some critical information. What I really hate about myself sometimes is they say, can you just remind me what you said again? Because I was not listening, right? And sometimes I really hate myself for doing that, but I have to listen, because I have to ask it, because I didn't catch it, because I didn't listen. I was thinking about that because I was really trying to listen to what they're saying. I didn't quite catch it. And that's one of the things I really hate about that. It's like, so what, can you just repeat that last bit? Because for some reason my mind had gone off trying to do something and I needed to get it back. Just remember to suspend any plans you have, because you just got to wait for things and not judge, and just wait. And that's a really, really amazing skill to develop and have, and people just need to be aware of it. But we can all do it and really increase that empathy with people as well, massively. And like you said, people just want to mouth off, and they don't want anything, they just want a space.
Yeah.
We're talking about my daughter about her anxiety. She doesn't want me to be out. She doesn't want me to respond. She just wants to listen. And she doesn't tell me she just wants to, because she's tough with anxiety. She doesn't tell me that she doesn't want a response. She just doesn't want a response. And then when I've tried to respond, no, I don't want a response, Dad. Oh, okay. Then I just know that I just need to just wait and just listen. It's one of the most powerful things you can do.
You're absolutely right.
For another human being, creating that space for them.
And everyone out there, we want you to listen and head over to inspirationnation.org.uk. Hit the shop banner at the top. You will have seen, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening, we describe for you our fantastic Inspiration Nation mugs that we're drinking from here, wearing our Inspiration Nation hoodies. Both of these items, along with many more things, are available at the shop, which for the rest of December has our Christmas 10% off sale. So what more could your family want than an Inspiration Nation mug and possibly some stickers for Christmas? InspirationNation.org.uk.
Lovely. And it was so cool when you told me about your two little ones.
Yeah, so my kids were very excited for me to have, as the kids say, some merch. Brian will cringe as I say that word. So I got them a couple of the kids size hoodies. Kids size hoodies available, inspirationnation.org.uk. Which they took, and my little girl she was up for a award with like a local Rotary Club or something, where the school's nominated children for their writing, which she won. I'm very proud to say. She FaceTimed me with her little certificate.
I think that's brilliant.
Which was really good. And she then showed me that she went along to the awards ceremony in her Inspiration Nation hoodie. I think they were wearing them for their dress down day at school as well, which was, very proud moment for me.
So, well, it's a movement right now. It's a movement.
So this is it. Want all of you out there to be sending your kids to school in Inspiration Nation hoodies too.
Oh, that would be amazing. Amazing.
Anyone buys any merch, we'd love you. Take a photo with it, link it to our Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and we will reshare that.
I think you're right. Absolutely. Yeah, we always will do that. On Instagram, on any of those platforms is great. That's just such a great story. It's fantastic. You know, it's just growing all the time. And, you know, even like a year ago, we'd never thought that had happened. We can't plan that, can you? You know? So, yeah, it's a judgment really. And I want to talk about a bit about, I put Maslow in here because I know in the previous podcasts, we talked about Maslow. We didn't sort of quite the triangle. So
we've made references to it, haven't we? But not gone in on it.
I just wanted to sort of put it out there for the people, you know, who may not come across Maslow. So if you do type it in your Google machine, I'm using your Google machine.
Thank you, Conrad Thompson.
Okay, shout out. So on the bottom, number one is so if you imagine a triangle bottom, number one is food and water. We need food and water to sustain us. Then it's second is safety. Need to be secure. So like you sort of having a house or whatever, or a shelter. Number three is belonging. And friends, obviously belonging to a tribe or whatever it is, and I think that's where the judgment starts to come in number three. What do you think, Lee? I reckon.
What on the belonging? Yeah, and just a step back quickly for people listening or watching have not come across. Or as Joe says, stick it into the Google machine. But essentially, this is the hierarchy of needs, isn't it? So, and it's in levels, and you have to fulfill each level going upwards before you get to the next one. So you have your at the bottom level, what is it, food and water and that
food and water.
See, listening. And really until if you haven't got your food or your water or your basic needs, you're not going to be going for that belonging, you're going to be going for your food and water. But once you've got that, you look to the next level, and you look to the next level, which is a very, very basic summary of how that is. Again, we encourage people to go and have a look. As I've talked about in previous podcasts, I really buy into this. In fact, I use it sometimes to cope with when I'm feeling stressful, that I will, sometimes I've noted that, you know, if you've had a really, really bad day, sometimes just being hungry and then having some food and fulfilling that need starts to relieve your stress a little bit, which I think is a bit of a backwards way of how to use it, but that's the way I kind of frame it in my head when I do that sort of stuff. I don't
think you should say it's backward way. It's the way that you like to use it. It's not a backward way. It's just a leeway. Patented, yeah. But it's right. Yeah.
So I think you're right, though. I think when you get to that belonging stage, that's where the judgment comes in, because, and I know I felt that, especially when I was younger and stuff, is you want to fit in with people. So A, you're worried about their judgment and how they see you. And B, you probably latch on to their judgments to be part of the group.
Yeah, you look at that as like group mentality, or they call it mob. Is it mob mentality? Crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah, where people sort of, you know,
tribalization.
Yeah, tribalization. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just finish with the last one as well. There's also esteem. It's number 4. And there's something else. And then there's number 5, which is self-actualization. I've got there. So obviously that's where you just develop and evolve once you get those past those bits. And I'll put belonging as well. So, you know, when you want to belong, you know, as a tribe as well, when you go back to 2 and 3, where you want your safety, that is part of the tribe as well, because you'll feel safety in numbers. And of course, feeling belonging, you want to have some self-esteem. So people might judge to get self-esteem. They can judge someone and think, oh, well, I'm better than them. Right? It gets your self-esteem up, doesn't it? So, you know, that can be quite a negative thing, because you're then comparing yourself to others. And as Ryan said in one of the previous episodes, one for you to Ryan, comparison is the thief of joy, which I thought was great. So it's just being mindful of those things. And I think using models like that are really, really good. And the way you think about it, and I think whatever works for you and how you use it, you just work it for you. And I think you've almost used it as a gratitude piece there as well. Like you've gone, that's what I brought from that, is that you said, well, if I'm not feeling great, I'm going to look at, well, I'm not going to look at, I'm just going to have some food, and then I'll fulfill that need, because I'm grateful to have this food that I can eat. And they say gratitude is a great negativity killer. And I would totally agree with that, because when I do my journal, one of my things is I have to put in 3 things that I'm grateful for in my life. And it makes you feel great. Literally, it makes you feel like I've actually got a house. I've actually got food. There's a lot of people that haven't got that. And like for you to be able to have warmth, you know, and just flick a switch and have heating is crazy. Crazy. Like, I still think it's crazy. Like, I don't know, to have like access to these things like just water that comes out your tap, clean.
That's,
and you can
that's because, Joe, when you were born, none of these things existed.
You're quite right. And I had to go to my well and, you know, do all that malarkey. No, I didn't. Literally, I was born into this world. And that's the thing, it's like, with these first world problems, you know, like, oh, you know, we had, not long ago, I think it's about a month ago, I think the water main went, and we had no water. It was crazy. Crazy.
But like you said, it makes you realise day to day how lucky you are that you've got those things and you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah. So those are things. There's people out there in the world that have to go miles walking for water and things like that. You know, and for us, in this, you know, where our first world problems is to switch on the tap in the morning, have a shower, cold shower, Lee, or have a shower, have a nice hot shower.
That's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
If a layer of skin doesn't come off, I'm not happy.
Exactly. You need a hot. But that's it. I mean, and I think you just explained that, and I think, you know, I know we've got a bit of time with judgment, but like just those things will alleviate you having to judge.
Well, like you said, it's part of an esteem bit. It's filling something in your needs to be judgmental, to make yourself feel good. But I think it can be negative as well, because like you said, you then waste all that energy on stuff and you make yourself more susceptible to judgment as well. Yeah. I've been, as you know, eating my judgment and sitting in those uncomfortable spaces. I tell myself in my head a lot as well, eat the judgment, and reminding myself on it. So very conscious, competent-ish in that stage. I've done my cold shower. My next thing is I'm going to start doing a bit of the gratitude stuff as well, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And like with the other things, I'll give you a bit of update on how that's going, because I see a lot of merit in that.
It's amazing. And it's like, and yeah, like when I started it, well, over a year ago now, I've been doing this. I mean, you know, over the 400 videos, every one of those videos, I've been, before I do them, I do the journal. So, and it keeps me on track, because those days, especially in the video, that keeps me on track for doing it. And it's like a habit, discipline, and it really is good. And
yeah,
it just
it's human nature to go to the negatives, isn't it? So it's a good conscious reminder. I presume being friends with Lee is number 1 on your list every single day?
Every time, you know that.
That's what I was thinking.
To be honest though, really seriously, this whole thing where we've got together, you know, and talked about, this has been amazing. I've got to say, honestly, I know it's like a bit of self pat on the backs, but literally this is one of the most amazing things I think I've ever done, like for self-development space.
Well, I referenced it earlier when we were talking through, saying about people going back and listening to previous episodes, which is partly a cheap plug to get, you know, listener numbers up on the previous episodes. But I hope it's worthwhile for people, because we talk a lot about, well, not only talk, our mission is self-development, is getting people to start developing themselves, is all this, you know, encouraging people to be conscious of the journey they're on. But really this past, I think 39 weeks is really just a journal of our own development. And I hear it when I hear especially when I do sound bites for old episodes, you can hear how we've changed just through having these, not through having these conversations, both the stuff we do on the podcast and off of it where we talk about what we're doing, but I think the interactions we've developed with people as we're doing this as well.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, I wouldn't have got into, like, I've been telling you offline when we talk about the comedy thing that I'm still doing. And I think that's really added a lot. Like,
Joe's got to the stage, people. You remember early episodes, Joe needed comedy in his life, and you're now an episode a night, aren't you, of a show?
Yeah, so Brooklyn Nine-Nine, episode a night now. I've done Big Bang Theory. I've finished that. I've done that one. Rick and Morty, I'm up to date with Rick and
I'm
Morty.
very proud you're even tracking the new ones coming out, Joe.
Yeah, when I think the next one's tomorrow night. Oh, it's tonight, I think. It's tonight at 10, I think.
Oh,
So I've got it on
tonight,
record. Hey, see, I know more than you. Oh my
You
God,
are.
did you
Look
not
at this.
know?
You're schooling me on comedy now.
Yes. I'm making progress. Come on, you're crushing it, Joe. There you go. A bit of self-inspiration. Pickle Rick. You know, I love Pickle Rick. That's one of my favourites. I still think that's one of my favourites. But yeah, so the comedy thing, I think I said I wanted to become, and I think, and having a bit more of a laugh, and I want to do a podcast around laughter, actually. I think it's one of the future episodes that we're going to have a podcast about laughter. I think it's a really important thing. I think we should have one about laughter.
I think it's a good
I don't know
idea.
why I'm laughing, but I just think it'll be a great episode to talk about the benefits of it in a healthy way. Obviously not in the detriment of anyone. I know we talked about last week, I think it was listening back to Winging It episode. Not laughing at one's expense, but genuine laughter, you know, trying to just watch things that are quite funny,
Yeah.
you know, in a good way, like, you know, where it's genuinely people are laughing because it's funny. And I think we should do it. And I just thought of that just now, and I was thinking of it offline, but you just reminded me, I think we have one.
It's a good idea. There's a future tease for a future episode there, everyone.
So just to put it out there for people, I know we've gone off Judgment a little bit, but it's just one of those things that happens like naturally when you go through. So, all right. So Judgment, going back to that really, you know, judgment is just, we do put judgment on things because we don't want to do things sometimes as well. And that can make things, we want to do things, we don't want to do things and we judge them. We say, oh, we're not going to do that because it's just too hard. But we know we could do it back in the back of our minds, and we cut ourselves off from growing around and things around that. So like the scary thing you talked about earlier in this episode around you wanting to do like things that, you know, scare you a little bit or, you know, make you feel a little bit frightened. When you judge things, you can sort of put the blame out there, like blame. It's almost like a mixture of judgment and blame where you can go, well, I don't want to do that because it's just too hard, or someone else is going to do that and you don't take responsibility for it. And you can judge it and go, no, don't need to do that. Oh, it's down to them. That's all their thing. They can just do it. I'm going to judge them and leave it out there. And so you don't do it. And I also think you attract the sort of people that do the same sort of things as well. Judgmental people, you're in that frame, and that can be, you know, it can be healthy to judge in a way that's very objective, but you've got to be careful in how you're doing it. Is it stopping you from growing? But you can then get into a group of that judgmental people and then justify your position for not doing things. And then that's when you surround yourself with those types of people. And I'd hope that, you know, us as, you know, a group, as Inspiration Nation would call us out if we were doing it, you know. So I'd hope that if I was doing it, you'd call me out and then go, okay, probably been a bit judgmental on that one, Joe. You may need to look at that. So I think that's another thing. The people around you can help you or can hinder you. And we talked about that before. With the, you know, it's the 5 closest people around you. So, you know, I'm trying to make a conscious effort to spend less time with people that have a negative impact on me. So I'm just wanting to attract people that have that positive vibe. So all the communities I'm involved in are all around positivity and things like that. And so it's important, you know, that I do that. Also, the people you're with, do they judge? Do you sit with people who judge a lot? There's another one. Family, do they judge? You're going to get a lot of judgment in family. You know, they do. And again, you know, sometimes you can't help it in your family, but like, you know, that's something that you've got to be mindful of, because you can fall into that judgment trap by that. So again, you know, it's not, you know, we have family and they are going to judge sometimes. We just got to just go with it and just go, hey, I'm not going to do it, but let them do it. It's absolutely fine. People are going to judge the podcast, right? People are going to judge the podcast. They're going to say, oh, I like that. Oh, this is really good. And we're also going to love the really good ones. Of course we do. But we're going to have to face the ones that don't like it, but that's
Absolutely.
fine. They don't have to follow the podcast. They have to download it. They have to talk about it. It's fine. We just want people who are on that board for that community. We love people being objective. It's different. Okay, an objective way of looking at things is different. Of course, we accept that, but not people who's going to hate on it. And again, it's not getting outside your comfort zone and doing things like that. You're not getting outside it. And of course, I can think it can stop you getting solutions, stop you creating, stop you being, I think, your favourite thing is innovation, isn't it, Lee?
It is indeed.
So it can stop you innovating, I think. When you're putting judgment on things that you haven't tried. I think one of the things innovation is bunging a load of ideas together and just putting them in a pot and just trying to try them out and see what happens.
Absolutely. And being judgment free and being, the whole embracing failure rather than being scared of it, which again comes back to judgment. It's my second favourite thing though, Joe, innovation. My favourite thing is cheese. You know this.
Cheese? Yeah. Oh yeah. What, to eat cheese, right?
Yeah, to eat cheese. Also a bit of cheesy comedy, but then innovation's like my second favourite thing.
Mexicana, right?
I do like a bit of Mexicana, you're right. Look at that.
Yeah, because I think you recommended that one to me. See, I know.
That's a good cheese. That's our top tip. If anyone listening, if you take nothing else from today, go and try some Mexicana cheese if you've not tried it before.
Yeah, I love cheese too. But I also like the other cheese, like cheesy things, just sounds super cheesy, like a cheesy line. I love it. A cheese master. Excellent. It's just so cool.
Maybe you know how on the store, InspirationNation.org.uk, we have Ryan's Reward Yourself with a Grape t-shirt.
Yes.
I think I should have a Mexicana t-shirt now as well.
Yeah.
Head over, everyone. 10% off. Get yourself some quality merchandise. Which reminds me, JN Coaching Tech. Stick JN Coaching Tech into your Google machine. It will take you to Joe's website. There is Joe's weekly blog. You can sign up for the newsletter. Loads of videos, loads of fantastic reading materials on there. I highly recommend going over. If any of this speaks to you, go and have a look. And coaching is what Joe does. It's his bread and butter. He loves to help people. If you want some of this advice one-on-one, and I can say from my own personal experience, it is fantastic for your own personal development from where you're going, then head over to JN Coaching Tech and you can fill out the form there and Joe will be in contact with you. That
awesome.
Again is JN Coaching Tech.
Yeah.
Say it 3 times. That's the marketing key.
Is it?
That's the secret to marketing. Mention it 3 times.
Oh, you're just giving it away.
Well, it works even if you don't know. You watch how many adverts on TV getting a product name 3 times.
Oh, we're going to do that now. I'm going to pick that up now.
That's my very amateur tip on marketing.
I'm going to look out for it.
And only tip on marketing as well.
Awesome. I'm going to look out for it. Yeah, so judgment as well. I just did a little bit of research about judgment. And psychologytoday.com, if you go over there, it's very involuntary. Our limbic system, something called the amygdala, as part of the reflexive brain, judges automatically. So that's why it's so difficult not to judge.
For it.
Yeah, it's for survival, isn't it? It's survival. That's the survival. That's because when we're getting chased down, not by a saber-toothed tiger, Lee, because you quoted me out on that one, but maybe chased by a big bear. Please go to the
when you were born, maybe it was a saber-toothed tiger.
Oh, all right. All right. Maybe there's...
I say this like I'm not nearly 40, Joe. So
T-Rex. How are you?
For those watching on YouTube, there were the T-Rex arms there. I love it. That's your T-shirt, Joe. T-Rex arms. I'm on this. I'm writing this down.
T-Rex arms?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Awesome. Ideas happening right here.
Look at that. This is in the moment you're getting it, okay? So it is just about those things. So judgment in all is it's just being aware of it and just making sure that you use it in a way that's going to help you rather than hinder you. Yeah, of course you need to judge. You need to judge if you're going to buy a car or buy a house, but you're going to judge with your frontal lobe. You're going to judge with this part of your brain and not be like a reactive. I think it's responding rather than reacting.
Yeah.
In that moment. And not necessarily judging things out of hand when it could be an opportunity. What can you see in that particular opportunity? Is there anything in there there's a lesson that you might be doing? And I think like Lee quoted earlier, it's like, if you feel that nervousness, is it something you should be doing, but you're judging it because you don't want to do it? Are you putting an excuse in the way so you don't do it, so you don't feel scared, so you don't feel you have to do it because you can put it somewhere else? Or you blame something else for not you doing it, you're not taking responsibility. And I think judgment plays massively in all parts of that. So it's just thinking about judgment in a way as you go through your day. And I think a lot of this is going back to the whole thing about inspiration, like Lee talked about before. It's about, this whole podcast is about how we've developed self-development and becoming self-aware of when you feel it. You're not going to catch it all the time because you are going to judge. You're not even realize you've done it. But can you look back and go, actually, maybe I can go back and do something or whatever, or go back and realize that you've done it. And hopefully this podcast has, this session is going to make you realize tomorrow when you listen, or whenever you listen to it, that as you go through your day, be in that moment and think, are you judging? Is it benefiting you? Is it not benefiting you? Is it stopping you growing? Is it stopping you getting to that next level? Is it stopping you going for your goals? Because that's what it's about. And I feel very strongly about that. And judgment is such a difficult one. It's such a difficult one. It is a hard one.
You're absolutely right. But like a lot of what we say, there's no golden secret to this, is there? It's just, it's having it in your consciousness and being aware and starting to develop those triggers and just reflecting back on yourself and thinking about that and just slowly developing.
Yeah, and I think what you said about triggers, how can you develop any triggers that do work? So for me, is if I feel like, when I get a level of anxiety, I feel, sometimes I feel, oh, what's going on? And if I'm now making decisions off the back of when I feel in that state, that's probably when I'm judging or reacting in a way which isn't benefiting me. So again, it's stepping back from that and stepping out of that and going, hang on, let me just breathe for a few seconds, be in that moment, and actually then make that decision based in a moment of calmness. Oh, talking about that, did you see the post about the shooting? Top shooter?
No, was this today?
No, went out on a team.
Oh, sorry,
thing.
Your post. Yes, I did. We talked about it the other day.
So this was really weird because I've been practicing meditation for about a year. When I was shooting, I hadn't done it, I don't shoot, right? And was out together, and I won the shooting thing, right? And I put it down to, actually what I did is I used my meditation techniques to breathe.
What, to get yourself really calm and focused
really
for taking
calm.
the shot?
Yeah, and boom, it was like crazy. I tell you what, I would be brilliant in a zombie apocalypse.
That is good to know.
Right, but literally, that's what I mean. I think it's just practicing those moments where, because when I was holding the bow, I was feeling quite anxious because you've got this bow or a crossbow in your hand, quite dangerous piece of equipment, and I get quite nervous around sort of dangerous equipment. So just relax in that moment, and I think now by doing the meditation, you can use that sequence of getting into the moment. So with judgment, or when you're feeling anxious, just stepping back and going breathing. Because even someone's watching, you seem a bit nervous with the bow. And I think, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. Okay, how can I breathe through this and then do it? And boom, like, so when I see it, like just sitting there and boom, it happened, man. It's like super proud. But yeah, and I think, and I was talking to one of my friends about it, and I said that's what I credit it down in meditation. Just doing that daily meditation has really helped me calm me down and get me sets my mind set up for the day. And so when I talk about things like judgment, I can really tap into that power.
Yeah,
and it's really powerful. And even when I'm talking to the groups and things like that, if I'm feeling a little bit not sure of the energy, so I can tap into that and go, hang on, and breathe and just bring it back and bring the energy back. And it works. It's just fantastic. So if anything, and I think you tried meditation, didn't you? You tried it in one of the episodes, didn't you? Actually,
oh yeah, I did. It was very, yeah.
Have you tried it
good? Well, you can tell by reaction there I've not actually, but I want to do it again because it was, you heard the way I was on that episode. It's such an experience. And it's weird, even going back and listening to that episode, hearing me when I come back, it's not like it's me, if that makes sense.
So we're going to create a space.
Yeah.
You know what? You could, and I'm going to give you a mentorship here. You could put those two together, meditation and gratitude. You could do the meditation.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you could gratitude and then meditate. Whatever works for you. You could just do those two things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I felt very relaxed after doing that, though. It was really good.
Yeah, because you're quite an on-the-go type of person, aren't you? You've got a lot going on, haven't you? And I think you said you felt clearer, and you said you discovered something quite deep.
Yeah.
I didn't remember. And I think that would really well. And that worked with your judgment, or worked with my judgment. It does work with your judgment, definitely, massively. Look at that. I think this has been good.
This has been very good.
I think I've just really enjoyed that session. But yeah. So is there anything else you want to add, Lee? Anything
No, I
on
think it's a
anything?
really good topic talking about it. It's like just like everything else for people, lessons to take away from this is just have this in your head and reflect on what you're doing. And like we're doing with this, just kind of go on that journey. And it's, to me, it's two pronged. It's about not feeling the judgment and what you can do to help yourself with it, but lessening that judgment of other people as well, because generally it's negative and no good comes from that.
Yeah, I don't want to try and judge people, and I do find myself doing it, but I need to step back up. I don't want to judge people. People, and again, it's really funny because you want to say, I'm not. But you do make them. It's like when I see behaviours, I don't like the behaviour, so I'm saying it's the behaviour I don't like, but it's not the person, and so there's judgment there, and it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, but you're still making a step, because then it's a behaviour. You can start to think about what's driving that behaviour. It's not about walking through blind and not noticing anything.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out the video next to me here, episode 34 of the Inspiration Nation podcast on how to deal with procrastination. Also, really appreciate if you subscribed here. Don't forget to hit the bell. We'll notify you when another video arrives. Don't forget, stay inspired in Inspiration Nation, and I'll catch you guys later.